So I've been playing a lot of 600, 700 pp lobbies lately, and getting creamed, but I've seen this WRX Group B road car doing well, so I thought I'd buy this and see if I could work out how to get a car which goes and does to them what they've been doing to me, which is destroy me on these, because there's no actual mods for this car. You can't really modify it in any way, so it's all about setup. Right, so what I thought I'd show here is how I go through the process of setting up a car. I'm trying to aim for a 600 pp. This is the default setup. So right at the top end of 500 pp, close as you can get. That rear wing setting is about as good as it'll get. And now I'm just looking for places where I can remove something and get a bit of spare pp, so I can play with the wings, but it doesn't look like that was on. So this is default setup, 0.23, 0.35 on the lateral grip. So you can see here times I put in the Celica, I managed to prove that by about 2.5 seconds. So I should be able to do the same here somewhere. So having gone round and got a feel for the car, this is on default setup, and I find that it's actually really good on the brakes, this thing, despite having the same tyres and brakes as other cars. But yeah, you can see there, it's just like all cars in Gran Turismo, it's just understeer. It's set up safe, I mean, that's fair enough, but you can see it's just running out wide and end up using all of the track, and then trying to use the curbs to get turned. Sometimes it works, but I can see straight away that on this outlap that this is really not going to be a final setup at all. The default setup is highly unlikely to be the setup you're going to want to use. So just finding what I could do. Could have used more road there, but yeah, still finding your braking points, and then you can brake almost as late as a Group 4 car, which is good because that means I'm not going to have to go on different tracks and then spend a couple of laps working out where I can brake. At least I can sort of go for almost a Group 4 sort of braking point. So yeah, you're going round, you're working out what gears seem to be the best, where your braking points are, where your acceleration points are, and basically what the default setup will do. So you come round here and it's a 56.0, so I'm looking to put in about 2.5 seconds over that if I can, or 1.5 seconds I think it works out as, but anyway, whatever. So now I start playing with setup. So I want more front end turn, I want more front end grip, so that's what the turn in for the springs, increase the stiffness at the front, dampers to match, increase the camber at the front, so hopefully the fronts are gripping up more, but that means I'm going to need to make the front softer than the rear and the roll bars eventually, but let's just go with that. Drop the suspension. I'm going to leave most of the stuff pretty much the same, but the trick is always to make small adjustments. I'm making loads, usually it's 1 or 2 adjustments at a time, but I'm making loads here because I know it needs loads of adjustment because it's really quite understeery in, round and out of the corners, and that's not what I'm after. So just thinking about the diffs is always a bit confusing with 4-wheel drive cars, because ultimately you don't want the front to follow the rear, so I'm trying to get the front more turny and the rear not as turny but still more turny. So that's on power. So if the rear doesn't follow the front, it should come round more, because the front's going to turn and the rear isn't. That's going to get you pointing into the corner more. You can see the rotational G is already up. That's just on the guesstimate stuff that that it does in Gran Turismo, but roll bars, that's kind of when you sort of not entering the corner but actually starting to go round it. Yeah, you're going to want more rear wheel drive. Can't do anything with the wings. I'm just looking for more PP points to use so I can reduce the rear end bias on this car, but no, all that's doing is sending the PP up because it's giving it less rear end bias. 398, that's as good as it's going to get. If you want it under 600 PP, that's what I'm going to have to do. So, have another go and see if it turns a bit better. No, that's running wide on that corner for a start. So what I discovered with this car is some cars respond really well to setup, others don't, and you have to go quite extreme on the setup to get it to behave. And this car didn't respond very well. It responded, but just not very well. See, that feels understeery. I think I'm waiting on the power too long there. When I'm getting the power down, it is dragging me out. So, but you're just finding where the car is at. This corner holds much better now. You can still run it out. That's getting in okay. It's a little bit, and I had to wait for the power on the exit there. That was okay. That's understeering, still understeering, and that was too safe on the way out. It'll be faster than the default setup, I can be sure of it, but yeah, that missed that apex by quite a bit. Didn't want to turn in. And then there, washed out a bit. You can wash out and come back in on that corner, but it's still in two minds as whether to go around there first or second. It's annoyingly in between the gears. Could play with that some more. I'm more interested in the handling than ultimate lap time, even though it is a bit ultimate lap time. So that was no real improvement, but I say just finding my feet. So now I know I've got the braking was okay on that last attempt, but that still feels understeery. Running out of track too fast there. That's horrible, that corner still. This is why I do Barcelona, because it's a good test. Turn 3 is a good test, and the last corner. They're good tests of what ultimate handling you've got in the car. But yeah, that feels okay. That's still a bit understeery, but not liking this setup at the moment. It's going to have to need a lot more work. So the changes I put in should have had quite a dramatic difference. It would have done on some cars, but not really on this. And I'm starting to think that rear wing setting is really governing what this is allowing me to do with this car. Got the braking better there, so I pick up loads of time on the exit. But no, the penalty. I was on the exit. Oh well, I've still got the delta time to go, but I'm always looking at the delta. I don't really care about penalties, doesn't matter. So that was all better through the chicane once you adjusted your braking. So that's 0.6 up, so that's a mid 55. So better, but back to the setup screen. So I still need more turn. So more on the rear anti-roll bars, yeah, more on the springs at the front. I need more front camber. Now toe is a dramatic change that affects everything on the car, so I'm going to leave that alone for now. That's for when I'm getting desperate. You make the diff more responsive. Trying to get the front more aggressive. Thinking about whether to do the rear. But no massive changes yet. Just keeping them fairly small. So no effect on the rotation or G or anything like that. So this is, it's not performance improvements, it's handling improvements. So go out again into the low 55s. So it's starting to feel better. But again, it's not responding massively well to setup changes, this car. I still think that rear wing setting, which they can get you under the 600 pp on sport softs, it's really dictating what this car's doing. And all the mechanical changes I'm making to the suspension is really trying to compensate for that massive rear wing setting. But yeah, turning's better, it's turning a bit better on the exit. It's very small though. I mean, it's half a tenth of seconds over the course of a lap. That was a bit wayward and going into that corner. But I should be able to go wider into this corner now because it's going to come in better, and it does. So pick up time there. This is a time to get more aggressive when you're putting the power down sooner. Get it sooner. That might be a penalty. Yeah. Alright, that's not had a massive difference. There's more time in there, but no, still need more aggressive setup changes. I'm going to go for even more turning initially into the corner. Tyres aren't giving up on it, so it's not turning then washing out, it's just not turning. So all the turning and the diff needs to be more aggressive. Still having that thought in my head about front and rear wheels both driven. I don't see it going beyond the limit of the grip. Yeah, that torque distribution definitely needs to go down more to the rear. I think, yeah, maybe. It's getting really aggressive now though. That's up to 8. It's 3 points difference. So again, go out, try another lap or two. Final corner's a test. Now it's coming into the corner. Right, that's starting to feel better. How's the turning going to be for turn 1? Yeah, still not great. But, say, finding your feet, going with the handling, trying to get where you are, that's hugging that corner a bit better now. Otherwise wash out on the power. And again, this is a sort of diving in corner. Again, that's holding a little bit better. I can get on the power a little bit earlier and still end up in the same sort of place in the track. That's taking its time to come in. It still needs more front end. It still needs more turn. That's so. This corner's usually quite a good test. It's still not where I want it to be. But at least I can go for the later, wider braking and turning now on here with confidence, because it's going to go. Now, actually, first bit of oversteer on power. That's a bit more like it. So that's focusing the drive more on the rears. That's okay, I can deal with that. Let's probably dial that out with setup a little bit and keep it where it is. You want that turn. And final corner's looking a bit better. But still needs more change. Still needs more oversteer. I mean, that front diff now is getting really aggressive. It should be going beyond it. Now, you're getting to the point where you start thinking about toe angle and ride height. Do I go for more rake? These I tend to leave till last because they tend to have dramatic effects on the handling of the car everywhere. In, round, out, even in a straight line. And I'm braking. So I'll just go for some small changes there. So now into the low 55s. That's only about a second up on where the car was on default. It does feel like it's turning a little better in there. And then this corner's now hugging much better. And I can get on the power a bit earlier here, and you can see the delta improving the whole time. And I can get in a bit later and wider there, wider in because or wider entry because it's going to turn in better. And it wasn't a great exit, so I've kind of lost what I gained, but you can see where the time is. And trying to use the curb to get the turn, but it's just not having it, and it's such a something you don't want to do to get desperate. But yeah, the turn's there. I can hug that better and get on the power earlier. That was too late though. You can feel it's coming, but it's really slow. I mean, the setup change is quite different to the default now. You can still get on full power there without losing it on traction. So it's getting there, 55.0. Now you've really got to start playing with toe and rake, because it's all the other stuff is almost sort of maxing out now, and it's still not really affecting the car much. So go out again. So I've already done a 55.1. And the car's feeling better, so now you're going for fine tuning. So I'm setting more bias to the rear on the drive. The good thing is you can do that on the fly, because I've got a torque differential which adjustable one, which doesn't seem to affect your PP by having that present or not, so you might as well have it present and have one. So now you can sort of get a bit more confident and push into the corners a bit more, knowing that it's not going to wash out because you've carried too much speed for the setup. Yeah, that's not fantastic, but saying getting the power much better on the exit now. So it really was, by the looks of it, the toe and the rake was just far too neutral. That's coming in better. Could have maybe got on the power a bit sooner, but it's okay. So again, I can still take this fuller apex because it's going to get round. Just a little bit of slip. I lost me time, but that's down to talent now. So I think on that previous lap I screwed up the chicane. So it's getting round, it's feeling better. Wasn't a great lap, but now into the 54s. So it looks like the toe and the rake is really what this car needed. And then try and get really aggressive, but no, it's just still not there. It's still going to understeer me out. Right, okay, done with that. So I kind of know where I'm going now. So the rear, a little bit skittish on power. So I think the front and rear diffs need to be equalised a bit. Let's try that. And then still can't do any much more with the springs. You don't try and avoid completely maxing something out because the physics might kind of go a little bit haywire if you do that sort of thing, and then it can become unpredictable. Still thinking that does need to go down because I'm going to stiffen the rear anti-roll bars. 9 is as high as I'd ever dare go. And now for another lap. How does that feel? So, fine tuning now on the brake bias. Still want a bit of rear braking. And despite trying to stay away from the toe and the rake, again the anti-roll bars and the diffs are just not making as dramatic effect as they should. And really it's about as stiff as you dare want. I mean, it's not snaking around going in, so it's not beyond the tyres, because it'll turn in initially, then it'll sort of understeer. So it'll oversteer, then understeer, and that's just going beyond the absolute characteristics of the car and the tyres, and it's not really doing that yet. But what I'm discovering here is despite adjusting the rake and the toe, and then going for more setup change, I mean that was run out of talent really. That was too much power too soon, but anyway. But despite what I changed, there seems to be minimal difference to the feel of the corner. At least you can get around there flat out now. I have been doing that for the last couple of laps, but I mean, marginal improvement is still 54.9. There should be more there. It's not gone beyond the characteristics of the car yet, so let's try and get more corner, turn in the corner. Do I want to make that even more extreme is the question. Or do I want to make the toe more extreme? In the end, I went for more extreme toe. So the front's turning a lot more responsive and the rear's less responsive. Actually get it turning better. And sighting lap felt better. Push lap felt better. More time to be had. I think I screwed up the chicane on both those laps, so they weren't representative. So that's kind of a bit better. I mean, I'm still washing out, so that was a talent fail. But power application seems better. I'm not worried at this point on the delta because I know I messed up the last couple of corners, so long as it's within half a tenth here and there, that's fine. Yeah, just trying to use a bit of curb and dirt to get turn. It kind of worked maybe a little bit, but that's just not a technique you want to program into a lap. But this is where I messed up. So you can see the time's going to shoot up all the way through here because I messed up that corner and had the tight hairpin left-hander, and I think I didn't do the chicane very well either. So that's better turn in, that's better turn out. I had curb to use there, and it's still getting into that and round that last corner. And 54.4, that'll do. That's 1.5 seconds just on setup. So I got the car turning into the corners better, round the corners better, out of the corners better. And that's why Barcelona is a good test track. It's got tight Mickey Mouse chicanes, it's got long medium corners, long fast corners, constant radius corners, opening corners, tightening corners. It's all a good test of the car's abilities, what the car will allow you to do. So this corner's of course a great test of understeer. This one's a good test of going in and see if you wash out. So you get the initial turn, but then it doesn't keep turning, but now it keeps turning, which means you can get on the power sooner. Although there is a line where you can hold it tight there and it works out about the same on time. But I've been doing that same style throughout, so again, this corner's a kind of test of your exit on the curbs. That's your damper test. Your damper settings test, yeah, that was cheeky. Kind of worked and didn't work. didn't really need to. So this corner's been better for a while on these setups now, so I can get around there pretty decent. There's another good corner for testing mid-corner washout, which is kind of your camber and your roll bars, and then the curve riding and the tight corner mechanical grip turning. But that feels pretty decent, and it's safe on the curbs as well. So now I need to go and find a race and see how good it is against other people. So, having slapped on a livery, I'll then go looking around in public lobbies. So this is 600 pp, sports softs required. Using my setup. And I see this Phil Ivy guy. So he's gone in, I think he's probably put sports mediums on and picked a much more higher powered car, because it's that familiar old thing of, you think you got a good car, you think it's nice and tuned and well set up, and then you get some guy who knows a trick or three and he just minces off into the distance, which is exactly what he's doing. I thought, oh god, I have to spend all that time with setup and that's still not the car I was looking for. But it becomes pretty obvious that he's not on very good tyres, because he's struggling to hold on to that corner. I just go up the inside, and I'm guessing he's got almost full power, so he just flies past. But I'm already thinking at this point, alright, as soon as it comes to the corners, I'm gonna mince you. And sure enough, he was in my way. I had to back out and go evasive there. And of course, good old Gran Turismo goes, no, you can't go evasive, you get a penalty for running off the track. Much better to hit the car in front and not get a penalty. Yeah, right, fail. Anyway, yeah, he seems struggling out of these corners, so I thought, I can play plenty of time. What I'm really looking to do is destroy all the other cars. So all these modified cars, and you'll see at the end of the full list of what was in it. I can't remember what was in it. It was Celicas and Subarus and all kinds of stuff, but all presumably sitting right on that 600 pp limit. So it's going to be like, see you mate. He's got a bigger penalty than me, so it's like, it's going to kill his straight line speed, but you ain't going to see me again. Yeah, there's a Celica. So I was running a Celica, and it was alright, and I was getting a lot of second and third places, but there was always someone like me now who just has a car which just ruins you. Not much in it at straight line speed. I think I could get that running for 24 horsepower before it went over to PP. But still, this car's just going to do him on the brakes and do him in the corners. Which it does. It's nice to come across one of those cars though, which I actually am familiar with. So I haven't changed the setup at all from what I did at Barcelona. So the only things I can play around with now are the brake bias and the torque distribution, to see if I've got it there just in case I need to, but it seems to be pretty comfortable. I'm not really trying particularly hard. And for once I can go in one of these 600 pp lobbies and I'm the one who's leaving everyone for dead. Hooray! It works. For now. There's always someone else, but for now it works. It's not far off Group 4 speeds either on the soft tyres, sport soft tyres. So that's pretty good. The braking points are very similar. So obviously, as you're lapping and lapping, you're starting to work out where you can go fast, where there's more time, without taking any major risks. The idea with setup is you let the car do the work. So it's not quite Suzuki Cappuccino blitz in the opposition, but it's not bad. It's at 15.2. There's way more time in there than that. Not sure if I ran off the track there. I'll find out in a second. No, must have been right on the limit. Perfect, they would say. But yeah, no change to the setup. I mean, I suppose Watkins Glen's a fairly similar track. It's got the long fast corners, or medium speed corners. It's not too dissimilar to Barcelona. Obviously you'll change your setup to be circuit specific sometimes, but since you can't change wing settings or gear ratios, there's not going to be a great deal you're going to need to do with this car. One setup should pretty much cover most things. So yeah, so R32s, usually get some fast ones of those. NSX, I think so, Celica, yeah. Destroyed all of them. That's a successful test. Round 2. Now we're at Brands Hatch. This is actually going to be a slow track. Still lots of a couple of slow corners, but most of them are sort of medium high speed anyway. This thing's actually, that looked good off the line, but it's actually crap off the line. Sorry mate. Yeah, it's actually crap off the line. But it needs shorter first gear, but I can't change it. So that you're just going to have to live with. And always in these lobbies you get people who can't drive, like him. God knows what that was. Because the standard of driving you get in these lobbies compared to like a Group 4 or Group 3 or Group 2 or Group 1, people who have to learn how to drive the car because there's no tricks, there's no setup things, there's no tunes, there's no mods you can use to cheat. You can't use nitrous. I think nitrous is off on this, it's bound to be. You can still have that. So yeah, take your time. Not sure if that's a GT4 S15 in front of me, or has he just made it look like one? Obviously could have detuned it. But anyway, he won't be seeing me again. So then at this point I'm going, yay, it works, I'm no longer getting my ass handed to me in these 600 pp sports soft, pretty common lobbies. Trouble is now, of course, it'll become boringly easy until, I haven't managed it yet, but I'm sure I will. Sooner or later we'll come across that guy who has the tune, has the setup, knows what they're doing, knows how to drive, and then you can have a race on your hands. and that's going to be cool, but at least it's going to be a race at the front rather than in mid-pack or the back. So yeah, so this is looking like a good weapon, this car. Still going to drive it, but I'm not driving it hard, and it's just cruising away. And then because it's Brands Hatch, and I was thinking some places I need more turn and sometimes not, I thought I'd start playing around with the torque distribution and for different sections. So I'm ready on it there. See if you can buy more lap time doing that kind of stuff. Of course, you can forget using this car at the really fast tracks. Maybe Monza, but not Le Mans or anything like that. You're going to need something else at a lot more top end. But these tracks, yeah. But yeah, it's so unbalanced, this PP system. It's not great. The old N classes of Gran Turismo Sport works so much better. So much better. But it is what it is. So that Payzen 5, he was probably in some other lobbies where he was doing exactly what I'm doing in the car he's in. But the difference is he's up against an A driver, and he's, don't know what he was, C, maybe even D. He knew the cheating tricks, but you know, he probably just doesn't do daily races. I don't do daily races. Yeah, that was too much to the rear. Push that forwards a bit. So I'm looking for a bit more turn. I mean, you can still play with the setup, of course. You probably would want to play with the setup at Brands Hatch because it's a fair bit different to Barcelona. Especially for Paddock Hill Bend, you want plenty of turn in for that corner. And you want plenty of traction for Druids. So yeah, put it more to the rear in these faster corners. The torque distribution. Well, at least I won't be miles behind anymore. So a few laps and you can start to push the boat out a bit more. But it handles well, this car. I mean, I was moaning about the handling and the setup being too understeery, but it still does drive very well. A lot of the cars are really on edge. only trying to meet this lobby requirement. But this is going to be a car that's going to be easy to lap consistently as well. Happy on the curbs, even the steeper curbs at Brands Hatch. I mean, it's got no qualms over that at all. I put that down to the Colin Chapman damper settings. Springs are pretty stiff, dampers have got to be soft. The spring's not going to compress much, it's going to reach an early reverberation. So the dampers, I want you set them to have a bit more play. Anyway, there you go, easy win, excellent, track weapon, and a couple of seconds quicker. So the ultimate rule is you've got to set up a car that drives how you want it to drive. It's not necessarily the fastest overall for everyone, but it's about getting the speed for you and car.